This is the process for preparing an individual development plan. It's a 3-step process. Step 1 is looking at the information you have and what else you need. Step 2 is the person-centred review. And step 3 is agreeing the individual development plan. Before you get started, you need to establish whether the child or young person is eligible for an IDP, and then think about who's going to coordinate the plan and how they'll support the child or young person and their family to be fully involved throughout the process. Step 1. Step 1 starts by looking at whatever information is already available. So that might be a desktop analysis, looking at all the reports and information that's already there, and it may mean meeting with the family and child or young person to look at what other information is available as well. If you need more information, you need to think about what you need, when and how you can get this, who will be involved, and how you can do this in a coordinated and family-friendly way. At this stage, you may be mapping out all the information you've got against the sections of the IDP. Where you have gaps, you need to think about how you can get the information to fill this. If it's through professional assessments, you need to ask the relevant professional what the child or young person's needs are, what's working and not working from the professional's perspective, and what does the professional recommend in relation to outcomes and provision. All of this information is summarised, and the family or young person or child will see this before moving towards the person-centred review. The person-centred review. The purpose of this review is to agree person-centred outcomes and to explore possible options for provision to meet these outcomes. To achieve that, the first step is to share all the information that's been gathered and then use this to inform outcomes. All the information about what's available locally and what's practical and possible must be shared with the family before getting to the review. To develop person-centred outcomes, we start with aspirations. We look at where the child or young person wants to be in a year's time and in 5 years' time, and then think about what's working and not working from different perspectives around the 4 outcome areas. The 4 outcome areas are language, learning and development, or moving to higher education and employment, independent living, being part of the community and having friends, and being healthy. And there may be things that are working and not working in other areas of the child or young person's life that also need to be included as outcomes. You develop the outcomes by starting with aspirations, then looking at what's working and not working, and reflecting on what's important to the child or the young person, and they use all of this to develop a draft outcome. You can check the outcomes using the following process. Will achieving this outcome prepare the child or young person to move forward and make it more likely that they can live independently, have friends, be part of community life and have paid work? Would achieving this outcome address the child or young person's needs? Does this outcome reflect what's important to them? Does this outcome help change what's not working? And will achieving this outcome take the child or young person closer to their aspirations? So once you're sure you've got the right outcomes that meet these criteria, the next step of the process is to look at provision ideas, targets and actions that are likely to achieve these outcomes for the child or young person. Once you've got your ideas together, you need to be clear about whether there's a record of what's going to be provided, by whom and how it will be delivered, and if you're including targets, whether these specific targets are measurable and accountable and make it more likely that the child or young person will achieve these outcomes. At the end of the person-centred review, you should have a list of outcomes that reflect the 4 outcome areas. You need to have ideas for provision or identify provision targets and actions, and these need to be specific, measurable and accountable. At the end of the meeting, you'll make it really clear what's going to happen now to get to the stage of agreeing the IDP. Step 3, agreeing the IDP. At this stage, you'll be finalising provision to meet the outcomes with the child or young person and their family. You'll be doing the required consultation to achieve that, and you'll agree the final IDP. Where the young person doesn't already have a statement, you can still use this same process for starting an IDP. And you can use the same process of person-centred review, looking at what's working and not working aspirations as well as the review for the IDP on an annual basis.